Hello everyone, this is an Ace review, and today we are looking at the Marvel Warhammer 40k comic book collaboration, more specifically issue 1 of Marneus Calgar. And having finished the entire first issue, I would have to say that in my opinion this is an excellent case study in how not to make a first issue in a new series. It's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong here, with one exception. I'll get to that right away. In short, I believe the line work is actually pretty well done for what this is. However, even when it comes to the artwork in question, the color palette does in my eyes leave something to be desired, as everything just seems to be a little bit too bright for this grim dark setting. And to put it bluntly, I think DC could have handled the artwork better. But unfortunately, I wish that the gripes that I had with the artwork were my biggest complaints here. Instead, the main problem is with the pacing of this first issue, and just how much it drags everything out. Except for, ironically enough, the combat. Now, if you're watching this review, then chances are you may have seen some of the images that Marvel provided to the public before the issue's release, where they do actually show off some of the action scenes. However, that's pretty much the entirety of the action scenes for this one issue. In fact, I even made a point of counting, and out of the 27 pages that make up this first issue, only 5 actually depict combat, which I should add is from 2 separate battles. However, both of these battles are actually diversionary attacks made by exclusively chaos cultists. So in other words, not only does this first issue hardly depict any combat at all, the little fighting it does depict are of fights that Calgar has absolutely no fear of losing. So the stakes aren't exactly being raised here. But this brings me neatly to the next major problem this particular comic has, and that being that it focuses on the wrong things. Because while we get only 5 pages of actual fighting within the entire comic, we do however get 11 pages worth of backstory immediately after that, explaining the beginning of how Calgar became a space marine in the first place. Now, to be fair, I could genuinely see hardcore fans of Warhammer 40k to at least be somewhat interested in this, but if you're the sort of person that's not really familiar with Warhammer 40k, then I don't really think that the actions that Calgar has done so far really justify the interest in his backstory yet. Typically, that sort of thing should be done after the character has already proven themselves to the reader, and I just don't think that's the case with this comic. But even if you are a hardcore fan of Warhammer 40k and are interested in that sort of backstory, then I would have to bring up the next major problem with this comic: the atrocious writing on display here. And what I mean by this is that nothing really happens in the backstory either. That is, of course, until we get to the cliffhanger ending of that backstory. Yes, you heard me right. Calgar's backstory has a cliffhanger ending to it, which of course presents 2 major problems. The first being that we obviously know Calgar survives his own backstory, meaning that there is no real suspension built up there either. But the second problem is the fact that this means that the writer is of course going to be going back to the backstory and plaguing the later issues with the same problems of pacing and focus. And of course, as you could probably guess, this isn't exactly an isolated example of bad writing within this issue, as I could also point to incredibly awkward segues into exposition from characters, especially early on, and also the fact that Marvel apparently decided to turn the entire faction of the Adeptus Mechanicus into comedic relief. Yes, I am being serious. Every single Adeptus Mechanicus character introduced so far has become the butt end of a joke one way or another. I legitimately do not know how you managed to screw up the first issue of a comic this badly, especially for Warhammer 40k. Obviously, I cannot recommend this first issue. In fact, even if you're curious about reading the later issues when they do come out, I would suggest skipping this one even if the later ones do end up being good. Because at the end of the day, the simple reality is you will miss nothing, absolutely nothing, by skipping this first issue. That said, I do at least plan on seeing what the later issues have to offer, if for no better reason than to inform you, the public, on whether or not they are worth your time. In any case, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.